Wow. Well, I want to welcome all of you to the iPhone photography class, live and direct from the Carpentry Art Center. My name is Glenn Dubock, and I've got my brother John Dubock here, almost live and direct, but he's actually here with me all the way from Salt Lake City, Utah. So let's have a round of applause for John, my tech weenie here. So he'll be here to iron out all the wrinkles, hopefully some of these. So anyway, let's see. Let's get started here. Okay. I'm going to swing over into my PowerPoint here and share my screen with you folks. A second there. We're going to go to this, share this. Is that working? Everybody see my PowerPoint there? We'll go full screen on the PowerPoint so you can really see it in all its glory. That's great. How's that looking, folks? Give me a thumbs up, Larry, if you can see that okay. Good. Larry's way out there in Goleta looking at this. Okay, so here we are.
Will be recorded.
Yes, oh, by the way, John just reminded me that this will be recorded. So if you miss anything and you want to go back and review all this all over again, you can check with the Art Center later on, and they will have a link to watch this whole thing all over again. So once again, I want to thank the Linda Fairley Carpentry Art Center for hosting us here. This is actually my first Zoom class that I've ever taught. Like most of us in this new world, I've taken plenty of Zoom classes, but I've never given one. So bear with me, I'm new at this, but I think we're all gonna have fun and we're gonna learn a lot about some things to do with your iPhone. So, like all my workshops, I always tell everybody, learn the rules of photography, then learn how to break the rules very well. That's one of the first things I ever learned about photography. Like anything else, there's a ton of rules. But when you get, your best photos will come when you learn to break the rules. So let's start off with, I love this picture and I hate this picture. This breaks all the rules. I hate it because I didn't take it. This was taken by the guy that did the tile in our house. So, and I didn't get it. So I also hate it because he got this beautiful starburst in this shot. I can't get that with my high-end DSLR camera. I don't know how to do this, but he was there. He was ready to take the picture in 3 seconds or less. He pulled his camera out. He got the shot. Yeah, everything's in the middle. He pointed his camera directly at the sun. It's not particularly sharp, but you know what? We're looking at this pretty close on our screen. I blew it up 24 by 36 on a acrylic print for him. And when you walk in his house and look at this, it's a knockout. So yes, there are some limitations to the iPhone, but the limitations are mostly in here, okay? So let's set up your iPhone for success to get photos. The 3-second rule. Those of you who've taken my workshops before know I have a rule that you're going to get your best shots when your camera is ready to go, when it's right there with you, which your iPhone always is. And we're going to talk about how to open your iPhone faster, to get to your camera faster. It's really a quick way to get to it rather than punching all the buttons, doing your code and everything else. How to hold the iPhone properly. There's a couple of different ways to hold your phone. And there's better ways, and we'll talk about a couple different ways to hold it, and then we'll also talk about getting on the grid, and that's another thing to put onto your camera and figure out how to get the best flow through your photos using the rule of thirds, yet another rule. And we'll also talk about tripod attachments. Now you're saying, wait a minute, Glenn, I don't want to get a tripod. This is why I shoot with an iPhone. On occasion, there's times when you may want to get a tripod or something to steady the camera to get those long exposures, those close-up shots, those kinds of things. So I'm not advocating you run out and get a tripod, but if you do, I've got some suggestions. And then we've got different methods of snapping the shot. There's a couple of different ways to trigger almost all the iPhones. We're going to talk about the way that everybody does, the way that some people do, and we're going to talk about the coolest way to take and trigger your camera to take photos, okay? All right, now, if you see it, you probably missed it. Your iPhone should be accessible in seconds. Here's how to open your iPhone really quickly. Okay, I'm going to see if I can get this right in front of the screen here. Now you see my iPhone is closed and locked. Can you see that, John?
Yes.
Okay, I'm asking my tech guy, John. Okay, so I'm just going to push on it there. Oops, I blew it. Let me get back to that closed screen. Okay, so you can see my opening screen right there. If I sweep from this side to the other side quickly, the camera will come on. Let me see, like that. Now, look at that. I'm already on my camera.
Glenn, I can't see that. I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
There we go.
And back.
And back right there, maybe, okay? So what I did, I'll do that one more time for you folks that didn't see that. I'm gonna I'm on my opening screen, right there. And I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to sweep from one side, the left side, to the right, okay? So I'm going to go like this and just go, whoops, sorry, my screen keeps turning off. I'm going to go like, see if I can do it without it. There, now I'm on my phone, or I'm on my camera. So that's one quick way to open your camera. Otherwise, you would have to go through your opening screen, hit your passcode, go to the camera icon, and all that. Good chance you're going to miss a shot, especially if you're standing around and the pelicans are flying right in front of you. So that's kind of a cool little thing to do. So now, another thing is holding your phone properly to get as steady a shot as you can. You can see on the image on the left-hand side here, this image right here, I wasn't quite ready to get the shot. I wasn't holding my camera steady. I wasn't real steady, so I got a blurry shot. Over here, I got a much sharper shot all the way through the entire image. Most people hold their phones like this, what I call the butterfly pose, okay? That's okay, but you're likely to accidentally, push one way or the other. A better way to do it, and of course you're going to be in vertical mode, but a better way to do it is get those 3 fingers right behind there like that. And I'm going to twist and show you where my finger is right here, and click the button right there. Also, take those chicken wings, bring them in. Bring those chicken wings in and tuck them in. You'll be amazed at how much sharper a shot you're going to get by just holding your camera steady and touching the button, just clicking the buttons, just like that. So, basic photography, but it applies to an iPhone too. All right, now getting on the grid. What I mean by that is your camera, you can go into the settings on it and you can overlay a grid on the front of your image screen. So probably can't see it on here, but I've got a demonstration slide that shows you what a grid will look like. And it just puts a tic-tac-toe square on the front of your camera. What that allows you to do is break the image into thirds, which then gets us into the rule of thirds, how we balance a photo, how we keep our horizon line level, and a few other little tricks too. So go to the camera settings and turn on the grid. And you don't have to do it right now, but you can do it later on if you want to. Okay, so this is an example of the grid. Hopefully you can see those black lines that are on there, on the image there. And in this particular image, I moved the subject off to the left-hand side, and it intersects with these lines right here. John, can you see my arrow there?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, so you can see I moved the image over to that side. Rather than putting everything right in the middle square here, if you move things over to the right or to the left, it's easier on the eye to read into the image. So that's what I'm talking about when I say get on the grid. If you look at your phone and you set up your shot with the image in the middle, and then you move it off to the left or the right, whichever works, and also use these lines to get your horizon line level, and also use these lines so that the horizon is, hopefully, a little higher or lower than this, then you'll typically get a more pleasing image. Okay, so let's go to, this is the next image. You can see this is without the grid, this is with the grid. So same shot, that's got the grid on it, that's got the grid off, okay? Same deal here. I was cruising around the harbor, I saw this cool lobster trap with a buoy inside. The human eye will always be attracted to the brightest part of the image first. So in this case, I looked for the bright spot in the image, I set it right on this axis right here, and I let these leading lines pull me away. So a classic example of using the grid. So when you're looking on your camera, that's what the grid looks like. And when you take the picture, the grid is gone. So it just makes for a more pleasing image, easier to read. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about tripod attachments. Even though I said, please don't run out and buy a tripod, that's what the iPhone is all about, is you know, having it ready and in your hands. But if you're gonna do a tripod attachment, this is, they make the phone steady for close-up shots. They allow you to run around and get in the shot, and they also work great for close-ups, okay? So this is currently the one that I'm using. This is made by Oben, O-B-E-N, and they run about 25 bucks, and it is this little attachment up here. It's this. What's cool about it, it'll fit any phone you've got because it flexes like this. So you just snap your phone into there, and it has a little gimbal like that, so you can turn it horizontal, vertical, or anything else, and it will attach to any tripod because it has what we call a 1/4 20 thread here. So what's cool about it is you can use it with a tripod, or you don't even have to use it with a tripod because it's a flat base. You can set it down on a table, you can set it on the ground, you can set it on your shoe. So what it allows you to do is get those low angle shots without having to, you know, stoop way down and hold the camera yourself. With the really low angle shots, if you're kind of crouched down, you're going to tend to be wavering around. So it's just going to give you a little more stability is what it's going to do. Okay, so example of a shot on a tripod. You could, you know, do this hand holding it, but it's a better odds of getting a sharper shot all the way through the image if you use some kind of little tripod attachment. Excuse me. So let's talk about the different buttons to snap the shot. The button that everybody uses is that guy right there. That's the one right on the front there. So, boom, I just took a picture. Boom, I just took a picture. Good one, but what's happening is, even if I'm holding it with the technique that I just showed you a little while ago, there's a tendency to push it backwards and forwards. Maybe a better idea is to reach up here, and did you know that the volume buttons will also trigger the camera? Watch this. I'm gonna push the volume button, and I'm taking a picture. That's up or down volume. So if I'm taking a horizontal picture, I can hold the camera like this, obviously not covering the lens. I can hold the camera like this, and I've really got a steady shot, and I'm clicking photos like that, okay? So that's kind of a cool thing to do. So we have the first one on the very front that everybody uses. We've got this one that some people use. Some of the newer phones even have a button over here. This is my old SE phone. Okay, I noticed a lot of people are practicing that. That's cool. Now, here's what's really cool, folks. Most of the iPhones come with these things called earbuds. I think every teenager in America has these in their ears, whether they're listening to something or not, because they don't want to hear us, okay? So, take out your earbuds, and you don't have to put them in your ears, but I'm going to put them in my ears. Second thought, I'm not. So, all you do is attach your earbuds to the bottom of your camera, same place that you charge your camera. And guess what? The volume switch on this, the plus or minus button on this, becomes your camera shutter. Boom, takes pictures that way. Now, that's really cool because on the high-end DSLR cameras, we have what we call an electronic cable release. And you'll see a lot of photographers, and they'll be out taking a photo, and they'll have a long cable release or even a remote wireless release, and they're triggering the camera. The reason they're doing that is because they don't want to touch the camera. They want the camera to stay perfectly still. Well, now you can, you know, put this camera on your tripod, or you can hold it, or you can set it down on the ground, or whatever you're going to be shooting, and you're not touching the camera while you're taking a picture. You're just clicking away. You can also, you can also go stealth too, because you can have these in your ears, and you can be looking at your screen and taking pictures of people and scenes without anybody even knowing it. You're just a teenager taking, you know, listening to your music. So Kind of cool. So that's just a different way to trigger the button. I think that's the best button to use because less chance of bumping the phone and getting a shaky shot. So let's add some interest to your landscape photos. The easiest way to do that is to add a human for scale and emotion. In this shot here, I was shooting some surfing photos, and I took a picture looking over my lens on the left-hand side, but I kind of panned to the right because there was a surfer getting ready to go out in the water. And so now you can see the size of the beach, the size of the waves, and everything else. So it adds scale, and it also adds emotion. What's he doing there? Is he going to go out surfing? So just a hint on general photography, no matter what kind of camera you're shooting, if you can add a human in there, you'll get scale and emotion. Okay. Let's see here. Let's move on to the next one there. 17 minutes in. Okay, so another fun thing to do is add interest to your photos by using found objects. In this case, I was just kind of cruising along the street. I saw this cool fence here and this foggy background here, and there was a little hat laying on the ground. Picked up the hat, put it on the fence post, and I focused just on the hat here and let this kind of fade out. So it's kind of fun to do that sometimes. Is when you're cruising around town, around your backyard, or anywhere, use found objects to add a little bit of interest to your shots. Humans and found objects, two of the coolest things to add just a little spice to your images. Okay, put your sunglasses on your camera. What? Yeah, it's really cool, and you can do it too. What that will do, it will add color and decrease reflections. It's a little tricky to do, and I don't have my sunglasses with me here, right here, but what you do is you take your camera and get it ready like this, and take your sunglasses off and hold it right up to the lens like that, and just trigger the camera. Probably best in this case to trigger it with the up and down volume, and you shoot right through the lens of your glasses. Probably have polarized glasses, and that's what a lot of professional landscape photographers always use, is a polarizing lens on their camera when they're shooting landscapes. What does it do? Well, here's the shot through my sunglasses. Get deeper skies, you get puffier clouds, get more color in the beach, less reflection in the water down here, and it looks like a slightly sharper image. It really isn't, it's just the contrast, because our eye picks up contrast and our brain says, ooh, that's sharper. So kind of a cool thing to do. So you've got a great little accessory lens to use if you're outdoors and you have your sunglasses with you. Last time I looked on hashtag sunsets on Instagram, there were about 7.9 million sunset photos. Sunsets are probably the most popular photos to take. So if you're out there looking for a great sunset, the iPhone is a perfect tool to use because, number one, it's with you. It does a great job of exposing for the shadow areas and the highlights typically, unless you point directly at the sun. I mean, and the sun is a large bowl here. So if you've got a cloudy day, it's even better. But if you can step back a little bit and shoot through something, these cameras are amazing. They will actually expose for the brighter areas of the image and make silhouettes. So it's kind of cool when you're shooting a sunset. Look around, see if you can do what I call the shoot through method. That's my favorite way to take just about any photo, but in particular sunsets, is the shoot through method. Look for something that will frame your image, and add a few humans in there if you can find them. Humans are good. Okay, so another way to get a great still life shot is look for that soft light pouring through a north-facing window, typically in the morning or the evening. Compose your shot and touch and hold your screen where you want the camera to focus and expose properly. I'm going to show you how to do that. If you want to lighten or darken the shot, you can actually do it right then and there rather than doing it in what we call post-processing or editing, okay? So here's what we're going to do. This is going to be a little tough for you to see, but I'm going to go ahead and give it a try here. So here's my camera right here. So if I'm going to take a picture, first thing I want to do is I'm going to find the primary thing that I want to focus on. And I'm going to touch right there. and there's going to be a little yellow square that's going to come up there. I don't know if you can see that on the screen there. And that's what it's going to focus on and expose on. And it's probably somewhere in the frame it's going to say AF and AE lock. So that's how you lock your exposure and your focus. And then you can take the shot. What's really cool is, I can't see what I'm doing here, but if you move your finger up and down, it will change the exposure right then and there of the image. I think you can see that getting lighter and darker.
Yes.
Okay. All right, I think I see Linda doing it there. Very good, gold star out there. Hey, look at that. You're all staring at your phones, that's good. Nice, so that's a very important thing to get really good shots with your iPhone. It does a fine job of focusing because it has the kind of lens that gets what we call great depth of field from, you know, right in front of you all the way out. But if you really want to get creative and shoot a shot like that found object photo with the hat in it, I framed my shot, I tapped on the phone right on the nose of that hat and held it right there, and it focused and set the exposure for that, and then I went down here and I triggered the camera, and that's how that works. You'll find that really handy. So, moving on. How are we doing time-wise, John?
22 minutes.
John says we're 22 minutes in. Now, I don't know if that's his time, Utah time, or our time here, but anyway, I think we're doing okay. So, are you people awake out there? Okay, that's good. All right, so here's an example. North light coming in the window, soft light, beautiful morning. My wife's garden, she set these things down on the table. I set my focus point pretty much right here and set the exposure for right here. If you were there with me, this would have been super bright and this would have been super dark. So this exposed properly here, and I got sharpness all through here, and it just sort of fades out into the background. Now, if I were to set my focus here, this would be the sharpest part of the image, and this would slowly focus out to here. So fool around with it, mess around with it. It's really fun to do, you know? Okay, so next up we've got, okay, use leading lines to draw the viewer's eye into your world. This is another classic landscape technique. This image was actually taken up at Pismo Beach with my phone. And in this case, luckily, I had a great sunset to work with, but I pre-visualized this image. I saw this leading line here coming into the tree, which pulled me into the sunset, but I've also got this leading line coming into the sunset. Remember, the eye typically will go to the brightest part of the image, but you can help it a lot by getting some leading lines going into everything. And I was lucky enough to get this cloud bank up here. So you also have this kind of Z effect here. You've got light, a darker, lighter, darker kind of thing, actually a V type of setup. So when you're shooting sunsets or virtually any kind of shot, always try and look for a line that leads to what you're trying to get the viewer to look at. In this case, I wanted you to look at these clouds and right here and that beautiful sunset there. So use those leading lines, move around the shot. I always tell people in my workshops that your photos really start right here. What attracted you to this? What's driving you? What makes you think of this as being a good photo? What memory does this bring up? So your best shots will always start in your heart. This is the real camera here. This is the chip here. The camera, whatever you're using, whether it's your iPhone or your DSLR, it's just a recording device. That's all it does. It just records light. That's what it does. Best shots start right here, get processed here, get recorded here. So good to walk up to a scene and feel the shot first, process the shot here, record the shot right there. Okay, cool. Same thing, leading lines. On the left was the first shot I got. Looked pretty good. Wow, I got a human in there. I got an actual leading line, an actual piece of rope. But I thought, you know, I can tighten up this image a little bit. And once again, I focused and set my exposure on that sun area over here, right in there. I tapped on the phone. Therefore, it focused and it got the exposure of the sun correct. Now, yes, there's software to go back and fix that, but I'm kind of a traditionalist. I'd rather get it right in camera. Okay, now I've told you a whole bunch of rules this morning. Now I want you to go out and break all those rules, because that's when you're going to get the best photos. Truly, when you break all the rules, that's when you're going to get the photos that really talk, show you and what you're feeling and what you want to do. I broke all the rules on this. I pointed my camera right at the sun. Terrible thing to do. I've got all kinds of grain and noise in it and everything else. And I got light scatter and everything else. But you know what? This shot says summer to me. I was lucky in that I got a human in it. So I didn't break that rule. That gives me a little bit of interest in the shot. Why is this lifeguard working so late? Or is that a lifeguard? So go ahead and break the rules. You have my permission. So don't be afraid of the dark. These iPhones are so great at taking night shots. They do have a flash in them. It's kind of weak. I typically don't use the flash, but wow, just cruising around town, you get these amazing shadows. Downward light is kind of cool. Going to the train station or something like that on a foggy night, you get this cool looking fog. Same thing with these sort of shadows. It actually shoots the way it comes out of the phone. It's actually kind of black and white and kind of color. So it's really fun to do that. Look for different shapes, leading lines coming in, shadows. It's really fun to just re-explore your world with your iPhone at night. Remember your technique though. You got to hold that thing steady. Brace yourself against a wall or something like that if you can. School is in session. Use the available light that's there and frame your shot and take one step closer. That's usually the time you're going to get the best image. So get your camera steady and work the angles. Photography is just like billiards. It's just like a pool game. It's all about the angles. So this shot here, fail. I wasn't quite ready. I didn't get down there and use the technique I've been talking about, so I got kind of a wobbly, blurry shot. This shot is a bit sharper, but it wasn't doing it for me. So see what I did over here? I lifted my phone, tilted my phone down actually. I focused and set my exposure on that beautiful rock there and got my leading line to go away. All done at night too. Amazing that this camera, can get this kind of shot with hardly any light at all. So just a little example of what you can do with these phones. So another little fun thing to do is add a bit of mystery to your shots by breathing on the lens and quickly taking the photo before the haze evaporates. If you're cruising around, mostly during the morning, now I see all of you breathing on your lenses. No, it's not a breathalyzer test. I'm sorry. So just give it a little breath like that and fire away. Shooting flowers or doorsteps, that kind of thing. You'll find it works best with single subjects. Now I see everybody's there just snapping away, doing their breathalyzer test. That's good. Okay, so kind of fun thing to do. Don't forget, you probably should clean off your lens after you've done that. I find a good old t-shirt works best. If you happen to be wearing your Carpenter Arts Center t-shirt, that's a shameless plug, by the way, they work fabulous. They're perfect for cleaning any lens, as a matter of fact. So anyway, compose your shot and take one step closer, or crop the shot when you edit it. So I mentioned that earlier. Typically, the best shots, the most readable shots will come when you set your shot up, feel it here, process it here, click it here, but before you click it here, take one step closer. Just get a little bit closer. In this case, I had a bunch of flowers, and I like the shot, but it got a little too distracting for me down in here. So I recomposed the shot, and I took one step closer. Now I've got these beautiful little petals down here. This goes out of focus, and this does what I wanted it to do. It shouts, hey, look at me right here. So same thing, focused on this, exposed on that, and got the shot. Okay, same deal here. I really love the texture of these oranges with that light coming in through the kitchen window. Didn't care for this plug over here. Okay, moved in a little bit tighter, framed the shot a little bit differently. So simple objects. If you can't leave the house, doesn't mean you can't take pictures. There's a zillion photos within arm's reach. All right, it's all in the details. If you do go outdoors, a cloudy day, something like that, I'm always attracted to bright colors, the reds and yellows out there. You know, I like this shot. I like what was going on in here. But then I thought, wow, what if I move in real close and show that paint coming off of there, that rust on those locks? Huh. Same deal. Move in close, tap your camera, get that whole focus going. See if I can get myself in there. Get that focus and exposure going, and then click the shot. Okay? It's really fun to move in close. And these cameras can shoot very close too. Oh, what happens if you got a dull day? How about some black and white? You got a day with not much sunshine, maybe kind of an interesting little subject. You can edit it later on in a couple of different ways and switch it over to black and white. That's a little more interest to the shot. Makes you think and look more at the subject than the color. We're so influenced by color. This makes you hone in on the subject. Same deal here. You can take your ordinary everyday cactus in your front yard and turn it into a work of art just by flipping over to black and white. It'll actually appear sharper in black and white because, once again, contrast to our eyes makes our brain think things are sharper. This shot is actually no sharper than the color one, but our brain sees contrast as sharpness. Kind of cool. All right, so the use of negative space. And no, I'm not talking about any elections or anything like that. The use of negative space in photography is using empty space in an image to draw your eye to the subject. And this subject was these two people walking on the beach. In the beginning, I had them I had the camera moved way over so that they were in the middle of the picture. That didn't work because you couldn't see them. They were kind of up against the dark part of the picture. The clouds were moving around quite a bit, so I had to be quick about it. And just as they move through this sun line here, you can see them as silhouettes, which is the effect I wanted. But I used all this negative space up in here to pull your eye to the subject. So you don't have to fill the frame with information all the time. You can leave a lot of information out and get people to look at what you want them to see. Okay, an example here of another leading line, a lot of empty space in the top of the image. So when you look at an image, when you first feel an image, what attracted you to it? Well, in my case, I saw this line leading away from me like this, and then I saw the clouds. Guess what? I put my sunglasses on over the lens of my phone, and it brought these clouds in like that. So, and like I said, these cameras are great at shooting close-ups. The detail they get in close-ups, especially in backlighting. Backlighting is when you have the light coming from behind your subject. Shooting the fall leaves and things like that are really a lot of fun. So instead of going around in front and shooting the leaves in the front, shoot them from behind. Again, tap your focus and your autofocus and get your shot. Think about moving a little bit closer. I originally had a wider shot, and this is a closer shot. How are we doing time-wise, John?
33 minutes.
33 minutes. We are rocking and rolling, folks. Okay, so let's go to the next one. Okay, we have poinsettia season coming up. Poinsettias are the only plant I know where when they have water on them, whether it's rainwater or water you spray on them, have these beautiful silver droplets on it. So it's kind of cool to shoot that. And you can focus on those and get this out of focus, and you have this really amazing look to them. It's very sharp and very crisp. So that's my favorite season, when you see all the poinsettias out. So all the time people ask me, okay, Glenn, if you are taking these photos and you do want to edit them, what's your favorite app for editing? I've tried a whole bunch of them, and believe me, there are a bunch of them out there. So far, my favorite is called Snapseed. It's a photo editing app for the iPhone. Last I saw, it was still free. So you go to your app store and you download it on your phone. And I'm sure you've all heard of Photoshop and Lightroom. This is very much like that, only it's super simple. You can get Photoshop and Lightroom for your phone if you want to. That's very involved and very complicated, and it's fantastic. You can do amazing things with it. You can switch heads on people and things like that. Snapseed won't do that. But what it will do, it'll allow you to take an image and fine-tune that image as far as color and contrast and what they call ambience. There's a couple cool things in there that I haven't seen on other apps before, and it's all done with sliders. You just simply import the shot that you want into it, and the instructions on it are very simple. Just import the shot that you want to work with on it, and it's just slider bars, and it's really cool. And so I call it optimizing your photos, not enhancing your photos. We're optimizing. We're making it look like what you saw, what you felt. Okay? So this is an example of what Snapseed will do. I would hope I could get that kind of shot, that kind of sharpness, that kind of detail, that kind of color with my DSLR. When I say DSLR, I mean a digital single lens reflex camera. That means a big camera that has interchangeable lenses and that kind of stuff. This was shot with my iPhone. And it's shot with my old iPhone SE, believe it or not. Remember, technique over tools wins every time. That's another personal rule of mine. You can have the most whiz-bang camera and lens setup in the world, and if you don't use proper technique with it, me and some teenager with an iPhone will come along and take a shot that's sharper, better color every single time. So it's all about technique. Use what you've got to its best ability, best advantage, and you'll get great shots every single time. So again, what I did is I tapped on the face of the phone right in this center area, got my sharpness, got my exposure, moved this part of the image over off to the left-hand side so it would read better, okay? Because the Western eye reads from left over to right, and imported it into Snapseed, and I just brought this orange color up a little bit and also brought the blues in here up a little bit, enhanced the sharpness here, and contrast. Don't forget about contrast. That's the little secret. That contrast slider in Snapseed is pretty cool. You'll actually see your pictures get sharper to your eye. Kind of cool. So, and there's a whole bunch of other sliders in there too. So play with it. All right, so same deal here. Snapseed allowed me to get a shot that is technically impossible. Detail in the rocks here, great color in the beach here, detail in the white water here, and you can see all the way out to the islands and the clouds out here. It's all about Snapseed. I imported it into that app and worked with the sliders and brought the brightness down, the shadows up, and you'll see all this in there when you get it, and it just does amazing things. Now, iPhones, they have, the new ones have 3 or more lenses in them. They shoot, I think, 42 megapixel photos. Great stuff. However, you're still working with a very small chip in here. So if you think you're going to blow it up wall size, your technique is going to have to be really, really good. You're going to have to really get things sharp and crisp and clear. This, even if you have a 42 megapixel camera and you have a small chip, you're working with less information to blow it up really big. When I say really big, I mean 30 by 40 or something like that. So if you're thinking of doing really large images, you're going to need to really work on your technique quite a bit. That's where a DSLR has the advantage, but that's really the only advantage. Okay, this is something I've been really having a lot of fun with. I call it, it's all just a blur. This is using live, the live button on your phone to get long exposures. When I first started shooting with my iPhone, I thought, oh shoot, I'm really missing out on a lot of photos that I really like. I like motion in my shots. Any of you who go to my Facebook page or my Instagram feed, you'll see that a lot of my photos always have motion blur, whether it's the ocean or whatever's going on. I like to have something moving in the shot. That speaks to me. So I was so bummed. I thought, God, I can't do this. Well, guess what? You can get great blur shots with an iPhone. It's just a matter of technique. Hang on. Look at this. This is kind of a cool shot. This is up at Gaviota State Beach, up at the pier there, one late evening. good light, got a nice sharp shot, but it's not speaking to me. It just isn't speaking to me. Watch what happens next. Boom, look at that. I got that dreamy kind of motion blur in there. The image, it's kind of cool. Down in here, there's even more motion blur. That speaks to me more than that does. That says, art. That says postcard. So, I know this is kind of wordy, but hang with me. Long exposure with an iPhone. You set your focus and exposure like we talked about. You'll see that AEAF lock appear on the screen. The key thing to remember is to focus your shot a bit wider than you normally would. And when I said step closer for a good shot, this time I want you to step back a little further, because what happens is the image gets cropped. You're shooting a couple of different images and it's combining them, so it crops it. And I'll show an example of that. So you've got to press the shutter and hold the camera very, very still before and after the shot. When you're in live view, you're actually exposing light before and after the image, which is kind of weird, but you're actually taking an image before you're actually hitting the button and after. So be very calm, hold it steady, hold the button down, take the picture and stay right there. So just tap the button, let go, but don't move after you've taken the shot. So you press the shutter. Okay, Amanda, I noticed you're checking that. That's good. I'm fine. I see you. I see you. You don't think I'm watching. Okay, so you press the shutter and hold the camera very still, both before and after the shot. Okay, and then to get to the editing portion, to work with that image or set of images, you sweep your finger up underneath the image. So if you've got an image on your screen, I'm going to try and show this to you. Let's see here if I've got one here. Let's see, hang with. So let's see if I can get it there. Okay. Not sure I can show you. Sweep up like that. Oh, I'm not in live. Okay. The live button is way up at the top, right there. You see that live? You see that there? Is that working for you, Marty? Is that working for you, Marty?
No.
Okay. Look up at the top of your frame. There'll be. Is it working for you, Cohen's? Janie Cohen. Janie Cohen, how about you? She got it? Okay, Janie got it. Okay. Smile. All right, good. Okay, so anyway, when you push on live, that activates that feature. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to click and hold the button. Let's see, this is hard to do, huh? Okay, so hold the shot, and then after you've got your photo, you'll sweep up. You can do this after the class is over. You'll sweep up, and you'll see a bar, and it will have a couple of options, and the last one on the right is long exposure. If you tap on that, it'll process it as a long exposure. It converts it, is what it does. Now, there's a little bit of image quality loss, so you're probably not going to be able to blow this one up super huge, but 8 by 10, something like that, it'll work fine. It's certainly good enough for social media use. If you really want to get into this, there's an app called Slow Shutter Cam, and it's $1.99, and it's only 3.3 megabytes, so it doesn't take up a huge amount of room on your phone. And it does amazing things. It'll take you to the next level slow shutter speeds. But this one is pretty cool, pretty cool. So here we are, we're at the train station in Carpinteria. This is just an example shot to show you trains coming in. My brother John is flying in on the train here, and boom, Snapseed gives me that cool blur shot. So adds a bit of story, a bit of emotion to the shot. So once you practice with this, and it does take a little bit of practice like anything else, it's really a cool thing to add to your arsenal of iPhone tricks. Okay? How are we doing time-wise, John?
45 minutes.
45 minutes, okay.
What do you think about Lightroom?
Oh, somebody asked about Lightroom. What do I think about Lightroom? Lightroom is awesome for editing. It's what I use for editing all my photos. It's easy to work with. It's intuitive. It's not, to me, as complicated as Photoshop. It's made by the same company, Adobe. So I really like it. If you want to talk about how I bring out the colors and everything else in it, you can use Lightroom to do all of that, but I typically use what we call plugins for that. My favorite plugin, and those of you like Larry who have taken my class before, you know that I really love this thing called DVLOP, Develop. And that's a company, I think they're based out of San Luis Obispo. It's a plugin, which means that once you have Lightroom, you buy this plug-in for 70 or 80 bucks, and it goes into Lightroom, and it's a separate panel in Lightroom, and you simply tap on it, and it makes a bunch of adjustments at once, and then you fine-tune it. If you're shooting a lot of images, many images at once, like you're on a trip or something like that, it makes it easy to adjust several images, especially if they're the same view all at once, and it just saves a lot of time. But yeah, Lightroom is great. It's pretty much the go-to image editing software nowadays.
I have two questions.
Why not? Go ahead, Amanda.
Amanda, go ahead.
Okay, how did you get to the black and white when you
That's after you take the photo, there should be a button on there that says edit. Let me take a look here. Okay, I will take a photo. Okay, let me look at my photo. Once I have the photo on my screen, if I tap on that photo, yours may be different, but on the bottom row down here, there's a bunch of little symbols, and one is a heart, which makes me say it's my favorite photo.
Yeah.
Okay, yours may be different. You may have to go into your phone instructions and look, but there will be some way to edit that image. It may be as simple as sweeping up on the image or tapping on the image. Try sweeping straight up from the bottom.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then where do I go black and white?
If you scroll along, you might be able to see effects or something like that.
Oh,
Yeah.
doesn't look like that. Okay.
Okay.
No.
It's in there somewhere.
It's not a black and white. No.
It'll say original. It'll give you different choices for colors: warm, silver tone, black and white. When in doubt, find a teenager. Okay.
Great phrase.
Yeah. If you still can't find it, shoot me an email through the Art Center,
Okay.
and I'll bring a teenager over to your house, and we'll work on it together. Okay.
Thank you.
Copyright symbol watermark on all of
Somebody has a great question. How do you put a copyright symbol on one of your images? That I do it through Photoshop. Again, there are plugins that allow you to design your own copyright, and you just tap a button for any image that you have in Lightroom or Photoshop, and it puts the copyright symbol and your name in script or whatever font you want it in, and it embeds it in there. Typically though, I think in the newest version of Photoshop, maybe in Lightroom, I'm not sure about this, that information is actually embedded in what they call the metadata, all the information that's packaged with the photo in the background. It's important, if you think you got a once in a lifetime shot, or it's a shot that you think somebody might steal, to go ahead and put a copyright symbol on it of some sort. The law says, the latest law says that the instant you take a photo, whether you're doing this amateur, professional, whatever, that image is copyrighted. Good luck defending that in court. The real way to do it is you have to go through the Library of Congress, fill out a bunch of forms, send copies of the photo to them, so on and so forth. Good luck defending it. Example, I took a photo of a windsurfer friend of mine years and years ago, but he just happened to be traveling in Peru. And he called me from there and said, "Hey, Glenn, did you know there's a picture you took of me on a billboard here in downtown Lima?" I said, "Wow, that's great. Let's send him a bill." And there's no way. There's just no way. So it's very hard to enforce copyright law. The law does say that any image is worth, I think it's $150,000, and it's a felony. It is a federal law, federal copyright law. So if you do win in court, you might get some of your money and the rest will go to the lawyer, and the person will be a felon, which means I think they can't, I don't know if they still can, but I think they can't vote and they can't run for president ever again. So good luck with that. So anyway, one more thing I want to talk about, as a question that came in earlier, was the burst mode. This is really cool on your phone. Did you know that on your phone, if you got the little kids running around or you got animals running around, God, I look great, don't I? If you got little kids running around, if you press and hold the button down, you'll get a burst of photos. It's like a motor drive. So just push on that thing and hold it down. Is that working for most of you? Give me a thumbs up.
Marty's
You got?
Marty's trying.
Is Marty trying? Oh, Marty, you're so good. Just hold that button down, you'll see it click off. If it isn't working, you'll need to go into the preferences on your phone or the settings on your phone and set it up. It's much like the grid. Yeah. Is Linda trying? I'm watching, I see you.
53 minutes.
Okay, so let's see. Another question that comes up all the time, I see people taking pictures of the moon. Taking pictures of the moon is hard with any camera. It's so hard to do because guess what? The moon is lit by the sun. So if you're taking a picture of the moon, it has this big black area around it and it is lit by the sun, so it's extremely bright. So cameras have a hard time with that contrast level, that super dark and that super bright white. So good thing to do is to fool your camera and shoot through something. That thing that I said about shooting sunsets and framing your shot, shoot it through the trees or something like that so that you've got something for the camera to expose on, something like that. How to get that big supermoon shot? You can zoom in with your camera, but you're really, really knocking down the quality. You'll see that quality really degrades on that. Not so true on the newer cameras. The iPhone 11, the one I hear coming out, the 12, has a great telephoto lens on it. But to get that full frame moonshot, you really need something like about a 500, 600 millimeter telephoto lens. So that's kind of tricky to do. But hey, give it a shot. Try it. What do you got to lose? But you'll find your best moonrise shots will be if the moon is coming up just as the sun is going down. Then you've got a little less contrast to work with. If you're shooting the moon up in the sky in the middle of the night, tough to do, tough to do. Okay, so, oh, somebody else, how many more minutes we got, John?
54.
54, okay. So somebody asked, what tripod do I use to put mine on? There's a million of these little tiny tripods out there, but this is currently my favorite. It's a Slick, and you can pick these up at B&H Photo is online, a gigantic camera store back east. Sammy's Camera in Los Angeles. We used to have a Sammy's Camera here in Santa Barbara, but no longer, but they're still down in LA. And this is kind of cool because it has what we call just a standard 1/4 20 thread here, so anything will fit on top of it, including that iPhone adapter. Fits on there, okay? And it has a little ball head on it, so it'll rotate around like this, and it has these cute little legs that just come out like that. What this allows me to do is to set it down on a table, on a rock, on a tripod, and trigger it with my earbuds. That goes into the back of the camera. And here's my earbuds right here. So I can trigger it and get typically a sharper shot than trying to handhold the camera. So it doesn't have to be this brand, but this is one I particularly like. This is called a Slick Mini Pro. It's kind of a cool little tripod, fits in a little pouch, goes everywhere with you, and doesn't take up too much room. Alrighty, let's see here. Oh, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate all you folks. coming out to this. Thanks for your support of the Linda Fairley Carpenter Art Center. If you have any questions, be happy to answer them. Just send an email to the Art Center, and I will do my best to get you an answer as quickly as possible. It's been great. Someday I hope to be able to get back out to shoot and give classes out on the beach, out on the salt marsh and stuff like that. This is a photo that Brother John took of the tripod forest out on the beach. Someday I hope to be able to do some social distancing and get out there and do that again. So anyway, I wish all of you well. Keep snapping and take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Glenn.
Thank you.